You're listening to Sip and Grow the podcast, the show where we taste awesome, delicious wines while having unfiltered conversations about our passions, experiences, struggles, entrepreneurship, and life. My name is Nicole Di Pasquale, and I'm a wine enthusiast just trying to pursue her passions and dreams while taking you on the journey with me, one episode at a time. My ultimate goal is to not only bring you wine knowledge and value, but also inspire you to enjoy your process and journey in pursuing your passions and dreams. Because guess what? The person you become while enduring the process is more important. So sit back, grab a glass, and let's sip and grow together. Hi guys, welcome back to Sip and Grow with me, your host, Nicole Di Pasquale. Today we are going to just jump right into it. I have actually our first screw top wine for us, and it is also a organic vegan wine. I believe, is it vegan? Yes, it's vegan, gluten-free, organic, and this is from the Domaine Busquet vineyard in Argentina. I went ahead and decided to do another one of his bottles today. This one's called Virgen. It's natural Cabernet Sauvignon it's a 2020, really? It's not a 2020. It's a 2020 vintage. I can't speak today. And it says it has no added sulfites. So I figured today we could dive into what sulfites are, and since this is considered a natural wine, I've kind of touched on the subject before a little bit, but I wanted to dive a little deeper into what it means to have sulfites in it and kind of just give you the rundown on my thoughts. Today it's actually a little bit gloomy because there's a hurricane coming to California today. Not where I live. It's actually in around Los Angeles, San Diego area, which is about 7 hours from where I'm at right now. So we won't get hit with any rain or, intense weather. But today has been very gloomy and kind of colder than usual. I usually at this time, the sun is hitting me in my face, which I'm sure you guys remember from all the other episodes that have come out, and I constantly talk about the sun being in my face, but today no sun in my face. It's just kind of like a blah day, but anyways, let's go ahead and dive into this. It's so funny because I was actually talking about Sulfur with the winemaker I work with the other day, because I was asking him about like natural wines basically and the differences, and based off of stuff I've read and conversations that I've had with people. Sorry, there's usually like animals behind me. I saw a skunk the other day while I was filming, and I played it off, but there was a skunk right there, so I just heard something. It's fine. We're gonna be fine. So going back to that conversation that I had with a winemaker, I was just asking him while we were out in the vineyard. He was walking us through, explaining a couple of things about the vines and stuff like that. And I asked him, I was like, well, do you guys add like any pesticides or anything to it? Because essentially what natural wines are is they don't add anything to the entire process of like cultivating the grapes outside in the vines and stuff like that, all the way to the winemaking process of making the juice, doing the fermentation, and all that good stuff, right? So he was like, I just asked him, do you add any pesticides or anything to the vines out here that will quote unquote not make them, they're not natural, they're not quote unquote natural wines. But one thing I do like about him and like the way he handles the entire winemaking process, and basically the vineyard that I'm working at handles like their entire cultivating process, is they try to stick as close as possible to like the natural, the way that the grapes are naturally like made and created and grown. They don't tend to spray it with a lot of stuff. And he was telling me the only thing they do spray it with is actually some sulfur, because sulfur helps. Sometimes the grapes here, the clusters of grapes, they're so compact and tight that when they get really moist from like the morning fog or the morning mist, sometimes it's really hard for all that water to get out. So then that moisture kind of locks in there and can create mildew. And that is something they definitely don't want to happen to the grapes. So they'll just spray it with some sulfur, which will help prevent that from happening. But he says other than that, they don't really do anything else out here to the grapes, versus just spray it with some of that, which sulfur ultimately isn't necessarily bad for you, but it is something that is added. So a lot of winemakers in the winemaking process, they tend to add that because they want to prevent basically oxidation or like any bacteria from getting in there. So the fermentation process is when the yeast combined with the sugars, that's ultimately going to create the alcoholic beverage that we love so much, the wine juice. And basically each winemaker and winery is different during their winemaking process, but here, at least here, with from what I've spoken about with him, because we are actually a little late on harvest this year, so I haven't necessarily started harvest yet, but we are gonna start hopefully in 2 weeks. Tomorrow is Monday, and we're almost at the last week of August. And tomorrow I think we're going to be able to get our first sample from the vineyard, so that's going to be super cool. But usually the winemakers just kind of go based off of how the fermentation process is going and add in sulfur when they think is necessary. But it's not really like they add a bunch of sulfur in there, right? And another thing too is like in the skins and stems of the grapes, there's like a natural it's like a natural oxidant that'll like prevent it from oxidating. So this one here says no added sulfites. So to me that just means that it's like the skins, basically just the natural oxidant that the skins and stems already have was what basically this wine has, right? Since it's a natural wine. Usually they tend to add more sulfur to white wines because when in the whole fermentation process, after they like crush the grapes and the must, like the must is like the juice of the mixture of like the grapes being the grape juice and like the skins and the stems and all that stuff. Usually in white wines, they separate the skins after that process. So the juice isn't left with the skins versus the red wines are left with the skins. So the red wines tend to have that more present than the white wines. So usually you have to add more sulfur to white wines because of that reason, to prevent oxidation from happening. And that's why there usually is a higher amount of sulfur in white wines than in red wines. And then another thing, like sulfur isn't necessarily bad for you, but one thing I did read up on and then found out was that the only thing, like negative thing that can happen to you is like you might have an allergic reaction to it, but that's very uncommon. And it was kind of making sense because there's certain wines that I drink that, and it's not a lot of them, but after I drink a lot of it, I get like a stuffy nose. So in my head, I'm like, maybe that's the allergic reaction because I had too much sulfur within the wine. I don't know. This is just a hypothesis that I drew up while I was reading that on the internet. Anyways, let's go ahead and taste this wine. So my whole take on natural wines is kind of like, I have a lot of natural wines that I love, I love to drink. But I feel like when you have a natural wine, you can't leave it open. Like you have to drink that entire bottle the day you open it because usually, oh, usually like like sulfur is added during the winemaking process. It's added as needed, and then right before bottling, sulfur is added as well because they want to preserve the wine to taste exactly how it tastes in that moment before they bottle it, so that when it goes from bottling the wine, and some wines they don't come out until like 2 years after they're bottled. So 2 3 years, it could be, I mean, depending on the variety and when they want to release it and all that stuff, but the release date is not necessarily like the bottle date. So when they bottle it, they want to make sure that that wine tastes exactly how they want it to taste. So they add sulfur in, bottle it, and then you open it whenever it's released, right? Or whenever you buy it at the restaurant or the liquor store or the supermarket that you grab your bottle of wine at. But since natural wines don't tend to have any sulfites added to them, it's kind of like you open it, you should probably drink it the same day, because if not, it's not going to taste that. It's not that it's not going to taste good, but I just don't think the full expression of the wine will be appreciated as much as it would when you first open the bottle. So already looking at this, it's a very dark, it has a very dark color. Let me go ahead and put it against a white background to make it easier for me to analyze. There I go, spilling wine again. Yeah, it's like a dark ruby red, so dark. And let me spin it a little bit more so I can get those flavors out of there. So I'm getting like really hints of like dark fruits. So plum, blackberries, black currant. Is it currant? Yeah, I think they're like those little, it's called a currant, right? Yeah, but like yeah, exactly. Black currant. It's like, they kind of look like blueberries, but they're not blueberries. They're like round. And what else? I'm getting something else here. You know what? I'm surprised. It's a Cabernet, but there's no hints of oak in this one, which, I mean, it's possible because maybe they didn't age it in oak. I'm not too sure. Let me see. Yeah, all I'm getting is really like dark fruits, like I said, like blackberries, blackcurrant, plum, and even like a hint of like leathery, peppery smell. But there's no hints of like any type of oak or wood or anything in here. So that's interesting. Let's go ahead and taste it. Wow. So very young Cabernet Sauvignon. It goes down smoothly. There's not, it's not a very tannic Cabernet, which is surprising to me. Oh my gosh, there's something out there and it's creeping me out because I'm hearing it every 5 seconds. So it's not very intense at all. It's actually a very smooth Cabernet that goes down nicely. And I just feel like this is the difference between like natural wines. Well, not the difference, but like I tend to see, based off of all the natural wines that I've tried, is that they're really good and easy to drink and very smooth. But a lot of them, like to me, this wine isn't that exciting. Is it good? Yeah. but it's not very complex. It's very straightforward, very fruity wine because all I got were like hints of fruits and like slight hints of pepper and leather. But when I drank it, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't excite me. It's not anything special. It's not bad. It's good. It's easy to drink. I feel like if you want to go for something inexpensive, this is $15 natural wine. If you're a vegan, this is a great option. If you are on an organic, bend and you only want to eat and drink organic, great option. Would I buy this and drink it every single week? No. Would I drink it every once in a while? Yeah, sure. There's other wines that excite me, and this one is just not one of them. But it's not a bad wine. So it's everyone's taste buds are different. So you may think it's the best wine, but for me, it's nothing. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing special. It's a very nice, decent wine, cost effective. I would drink it, like if it's at home I would drink it, but I won't go out of my way to buy it again, basically. Yeah. But anyways, I if you haven't already, go ahead and grab this aroma wheel in the link in my bio, on all my socials. It's like my holy grail for when I do tastings. I'm trying to get better at tastings just because I did take a tasting class, but that was like 10 years ago, and now we're getting back into it. And the other day, I actually did a tasting with a lot of my coworkers, and they were coming up with some stuff that I was just like, I do not sound like that when I'm doing a tasting. So I need to up my game a little bit. But also, I definitely do need to eat more different types of foods and kind of like test my olfactory senses, which is basically I need to smell a bunch of fragrances and understand them and learn them, so I can, sound cooler doing tastings. But I hope you enjoyed this very straightforward type of tasting with me. It's one and only with Nicole Di Pasquale. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and enjoy all the episodes that I'm bringing to you. And go ahead and check out all the little goodies that I have, if you want to learn more about wines and get deeper into the topics that we're discussing on here. And like I said, if you have any questions or feedback for me, I always appreciate that, and I would love to hear back from you. So you can go ahead and email me, comment on my on my videos. You can send me a DM through social media, any and all platforms. I'm there, and I really, really hope to hear from you. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know. I hope to see you in the next episode. Cheers and enjoy the rest of your day.